There's a moment, usually late at night, when everything finally goes quiet. No notifications, no conversations, no expectations, just silence. And for most people, silence feels peaceful. But for you, that's when everything gets louder. Not outside, inside. That pressure in your chest. That strange heaviness you can't explain. That feeling like something isn't right, even when nothing is wrong. You sit there, trying to relax. But your mind doesn't let you. It starts replaying things. A conversation from earlier, a small change in someone's tone. A moment that didn't seem important at the time. But now, it feels like it meant something more. Have you ever felt like that? Like your mind refuses to switch off, even when everything around you is calm? During the day, you function. You respond. You talk. You show up. You even laugh. But the second you're alone, it all comes back. That quiet pressure. That constant awareness, that feeling like you're carrying something invisible. And the hardest part is, no one sees it. Not because they don't care, but because you've learned how to hide it so well. You've trained yourself to look fine, to stay composed, to keep everything together, even when inside you're processing everything, and sometimes even you start questioning it. Am I overthinking? Why does everything feel heavier for me? Why do I notice things others don't? But deep down, you know something is different. And here's what most people don't realize. That heaviness you feel isn't a burden. It's actually the first sign of a rare type of intelligence, the kind that only a very small percentage of people ever develop. And once you understand it, you stop fighting your mind and start understanding it. You don't feel more because you're weak. You feel more because you notice more. You're hyper-aware, and that changes everything. You walk into a room, and instantly, you sense things others miss. A slight shift in energy, a pause in someone's voice, a look that doesn't match what's being said. You don't just hear words, you read meaning, and your mind doesn't stop there. It keeps going, replaying, analyzing, connecting. Why did that feel off? Was there something behind that? Did I miss something important? Even when there's no clear answer, your brain keeps searching. That's where silent battles begin. Not in chaos, but in stillness. It's quiet, but constant. And over time, it becomes exhausting. Because you're not just living your life, you're observing it at the same time, watching yourself, watching others, trying to understand everything. And slowly, you start to feel different, like you experience things more deeply. Like situations affect you more than they should. Like your mind doesn't move on as easily. And that creates a gap between you and everyone else. Because people around you seem fine, they let things go quickly. They don't analyze everything. They don't carry things the same way. And you sit there wondering, how do they just move on? But here's the truth. They're not processing like you are. Your brain is doing more. It's reading layers, recognizing patterns, understanding things beyond the surface. And this didn't happen randomly. At some point in your life, being aware protected you. It helped you understand people, avoid emotional harm, stay one step ahead. So your mind adapted. It became sharper, more sensitive, more observant. And now, it doesn't know how to stop. Because to your brain, awareness equals safety. If you notice everything, you won't be caught off guard. If you analyze everything, you won't be hurt. But there's a cost. Because when your mind is always on, you never fully rest. Even in silence, you're still working, still processing, still carrying, and that's why it feels heavy. Not because something is wrong, but because your mind is doing more than most people's. And this is where everything changes. Because what you're experiencing right now is the exact same pattern that shaped one of the most mentally resilient individuals in history. Let's talk about David. Not the king, not the warrior people celebrate, but the version of David before anyone knew his name, before recognition, before validation, before anyone believed in him. David lived in isolation. Long hours, alone, watching sheep, sitting in silence, with nothing but his thoughts. And that kind of silence changes you. Because when there's no distraction, you're forced to face yourself, your thoughts, your emotions, your fears. Most people avoid that. They fill their time, they distract themselves, they escape into noise. But David didn't. He stayed in it. He processed it. He reflected on it. And slowly, he began to understand himself. That's where his strength came from, not from external validation, but from internal clarity. Now here's what most people miss. When David faced Goliath, everyone else saw fear. They saw something too big, too powerful, too overwhelming. But David didn't, because his real battles were never external. They were internal. The loneliness, the doubt, the overthinking, the emotional weight. He had already faced those in silence. He had already trained his mind without even realizing it. So when something external appeared, it didn't overwhelm him, it revealed him. And that's the David rule. The battles you fight internally are not a weakness, they are preparation. They are shaping your perception, your emotional control, your ability to stay grounded under pressure. They are building something inside you that most people never develop. And one day, that will matter. In a moment, in a decision, in a situation where others panic, and you don't. But here's the part no one tells you. If you don't learn how to control this awareness, it will start controlling you. And that's where most people get stuck. If you've been fighting silent battles, there are 3 things you need to understand. Not to escape them, but to master them. Right now, you feel everything, but you don't filter anything. That's the problem. Your awareness is not the issue. Your lack of boundaries is. You absorb everything, every emotion, every shift, every signal, and over time, that turns into overload. Your brain doesn't know what to keep and what to ignore, so it keeps everything. That's why it feels heavy. Instead of asking, why do I feel so much? Start asking, what actually deserves my attention? Because awareness without control feels like anxiety. But awareness with control becomes clarity. You're constantly thinking, but rarely processing, and those are 2 different things. Thinking is repetition. Processing is resolution. Right now, your mind is stuck in loops, replaying things, revisiting moments, holding on to unresolved thoughts because it never gets space to finish them. You're always consuming something. Content, noise, distractions. Your brain is always active, but never resetting. David had silence. Not accidental silence, intentional silence. And that's what allowed him to understand himself. You need that too, even if it's just a few minutes a day. No phone, no music, no input, just you and your thoughts. At first, it will feel uncomfortable, because everything you've been avoiding will show up. But if you stay there, something shifts. Your mind starts organizing itself. The noise starts separating. And slowly, what felt like chaos becomes clarity. But the final step is the one that changes everything, because this is where silent battles either trap you or transform you. This is the hardest truth, because if you're highly aware, you don't just feel your own emotions, you absorb other people's too. Their stress, their moods, their energy. And over time, you start carrying things that were never yours. That's why it feels so heavy. You're not overwhelmed, you're overloaded. And this is where discernment becomes everything. You have to separate what is yours and what you picked up. If you've ever felt like you were carrying someone else's emotions and didn't know why, type aware in the comments. Because that feeling is a sign of how tuned in you are, but it also means you need boundaries. David didn't fight every battle, he chose his moment. And that's what made him powerful. You don't need to respond to everything. You don't need to carry everyone. You don't need to fix every situation. Some things are not yours. And when you let those go, everything changes. The weight decreases, the pressure fades, the mind quiets down. And for the first time, you feel lighter. You're not broken. You're not too sensitive. You're not overthinking. You're aware. And yes, that comes with weight, but it also comes with something rare: clarity, depth, strength. The kind of strength that doesn't look loud, but shows up when it matters most. So if you've been fighting silent battles, stop asking, why is this happening to me? Start asking, what is this preparing me for? Because just like David, your story isn't about the struggle. It's about who you become because of it. If this made you feel understood, stay with this. Because what you're starting to realize right now is something most people never fully understand. And once you see it, you can't unsee it.